All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Pokemon. In this video, I want to talk specifically about Argos. Argos Anonymous. So Argos is obviously one of the biggest MetaZoo creators. In my opinion, the biggest MetaZoo creator there is on YouTube. I think when it comes to, even when it comes to a guy like Rudy, Argos is one of the only guys whose name is like synonymous with MetaZoo. When you think of MetaZoo, you think of Argos and vice versa. Now, this is not a negative video about Argos, by the way, so Argos haters, be gone. I will tolerate no Argos slander in the comment section. So, Argos has been one of the biggest supporters, one of the biggest characters, really, in the MetaZoo past couple of years. And I think that his recent videos have been very telling as far as the state of MetaZoo right now, the sad state that MetaZoo's in right now. So, Argos did a video today where he talked about things that MetaZoo could do to turn the ship around. And it's been a more critical style of video than he typically does. And I would say, like, really the one knock that I see the most common against Argos is that he's too positive about MetaZoo. And I would say that's a pretty good negative thing to, if that's the biggest negative thing about you, that's a pretty good negative thing to have said about you. Now, that being said, his recent videos have been a little bit more critical. And in that video, he was talking about how MetaZoo needs to have a smaller print run, maybe less supply, and not flood the market with product. And he also talks about how there might be a need, which I think a lot of you guys would agree with, there might be a need for a change in management. I think specifically a lot of people think about Mike Waddell when they talk about a change in MetaZoo management. A lot of people think that Mike Waddell has been a negative thing as far as steering the ship for MetaZoo, and what he's done for the brand has, aside from conceiving the whole thing, has been kind of negative. And I think that's probably what Argos was referring to as well. And I know some people have had some issues with Andy, who has kind of taken over from where Mike left off when they had that little bit of a change up. But that was kind of the direction Argos was going with that video. But more importantly, there's been a recent development with Argos where he's selling a lot of pretty high value, pretty sought after, higher end items from his MetaZoo collection. He's got a lot of stuff on his eBay right now. He made a video about it, and he was talking about how, no, he's not dying. He's not done with MetaZoo. He's not broke. He doesn't need the money. This isn't his big exit from the game. He's just making some room for new product, legacy, and the upcoming sets, and he's just got too much stuff, and he's making some room. And I believe that for the most part. But the point that I'm trying to make here, and what I wanted to make this video about and talk about here, was when it comes to Argos, he is like the most positive guy when it comes to MetaZoo. So when Argos is making videos like this, and specifically selling off this chunk of his collection, which I'm going to talk about in a second, I think this is really where MetaZoo starts to really need to listen and pay attention to what's going on. I feel like for the most part, up until that letter really, they've ignored a good chunk of the criticism that they've gotten online. But Argos is really one of the last guys that's really holding up MetaZoo. He's a little bit different than me. He's a lot different than me in the sense that he's really putting his money where his mouth is. He's not just a content creator that talks about everything going on with MetaZoo. He's also a partner, and he buys and distributes very large volume of MetaZoo product. He is like actively boots on the ground doing work for them, and he's gotten screwed over by them multiple times, including with this Karami's Cryptid Carnival drop. And I think he's probably getting to the point where he's fed up and he wants to see a change and he wants to see the ship turn around. But I also think that he, the most positive guy in the MetaZoo community, is losing a little bit of confidence in the brand, maybe losing more than he lets on. And the reason why I say that is while I believe he's not exiting MetaZoo, I think when I looked at some of the stuff he was selling, and I bid on a lot of it, some of the stuff that he was selling on his eBay store, a lot of it was really high value stuff. I'm talking about sample cards. One of one Bigfoot was on there. Serialized Mothman cards, NFT tokens, Revive Mothman, redeemable PSA 10s, Kickstarter boxes, Kickstarter Mothman. And the reason why I say I believe him for the most part, he's trying to make room, etc., is some of those cards, obviously singles and slabs, don't take up a whole lot of room. So I think for the most part that was true. But I think you wouldn't sell cards like that if you were a die-hard believer in the future of MetaZoo. If you really thought MetaZoo was going to recover and eventually creep its way back up, not saying it's going to the moon or anything, those would be the cards that you would hold on to. Kickstarter Mothman, even if you have 10 of them or a dozen of them. Kickstarter Mothman, Revive Mothman, sample cards, PSA 10, 1 of 1 Bigfoot from Topps Chrome. Those would be the cards that I would hold on to. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong by selling these. I've been selling a lot of my collection too and focusing more on other areas of things that I specifically want to collect from Metazoo. So I've been selling off higher value stuff too. So he's not doing anything wrong. But I think the reason why both of us have been doing that is we've lost a little bit of confidence in the future of Metazoo. And some of these cards that we might have at one point thought down the line, these are going to be heavy hitter cards and they're going to gain value. Changed my mind about some of them and sold them now. I'd rather just have less money now, move that money to something else. So I think when a guy like Argos, who, like I said, the only real knock against the guy is that he's too positive about Metazoo. When he's selling a pretty substantial, we don't know how big his collection is, but a substantial amount of stuff. I was going to say substantial chunk of his collection, but we really don't know that. It's good stuff, and it's a substantial amount of stuff. When he's selling stuff like that, and he's making critique videos, I think this is really the point, if Metazoo hasn't been listening up until this point, this is really the point where they need to pay attention. Because really, Argos is like one of the last guys doing this. He's one of the last guys holding it up when it comes to social media and being like a really big partner. I've never heard of Argos scamming anybody. I've never heard any like real negative stuff about Argos. And I've said this before, but if I ever buy a product at full price, at pre-order prices, I buy it from Argos. I bought a Karami box from Argos at whatever his full asking price was, even after I had bought boxes from the distributor. I buy Revive boxes from Argos. I bought Native on pre-order from Argos. If there's anybody that I would trust to buy a pre-order from, it's Argos. He seems like the most trustworthy, enthusiastic, reliable guy in Metazoo, and I would encourage anybody to pre-order from his store. So I say that because when he's starting to seemingly lose confidence in Metazoo, and he's getting critical, and he's selling high-value cards, that's when it's really time for Metazoo to worry, because when I started collecting Metazoo, there were probably hundreds of channels, hundreds of videos about Metazoo, people talking about Metazoo. Then it went down to dozens. And now the number of YouTubers that talk about Metazoo on a daily basis is probably countable on one hand, including me and Argos. And he's like, in my opinion, he's the biggest. He's the best. So when a guy like him is seemingly starting to waver a little bit, and he hasn't said this, but I think in his mind, he's probably seeing the writing on the wall like a lot of you guys have. And he's probably starting to waver a little bit in his mind about the future of Metazoo. That's when Metazoo really needs to start to worry and really needs to start to pay attention, because this is where things are going to start to get sticky. If they lose a guy like Argos and he stops making videos and he stops buying product and he stops being a partner, they're in trouble, because no one else is holding up the brand. Argos has really got the weight of Metazoo on his shoulders, because there's not any YouTubers talking about it and selling it anymore. It's like Argos and Alpha Investments, who we don't know if he's even going to continue working with Metazoo. So it's kind of a scary time to be a Metazoo fan. And I think Argos realizes that. And I think that it's important that Metazoo listens to his critiques, even if they don't listen to mine. Listen to what Argos is saying. Because if he quits, it's kind of over. Argos is really propping this whole thing up. And I can't say enough positive things about the guy. And I said in my Rudy video, I typically don't talk about other YouTubers as a subject matter for a video on this channel. I think the news with Metazoo typically speaks for itself. But I hold Argos in such high esteem when it comes to Metazoo that I think these recent videos and the recent developments with him are very significant, because I think he is so synonymous with Metazoo, and I think he is like their biggest fan, their biggest supporter, and he really puts his money where his mouth is. And me and Argos, while we do different things, are kind of both in the same unique position where he's very independently successful. Metazoo is kind of a hobby for him, even though he's taken it a lot further than I have with his partnership status and the amount of product that he buys and sells. And he has money outside of Metazoo. He's very successful outside of Metazoo. I have money outside of Metazoo. I'm successful outside of Metazoo. Metazoo's a hobby to me. So all these cards I collect, if they all go to zero tomorrow, yeah, it'll suck. It'll be sad, but I'll be fine. If everything Argos has that he owns from Metazoo goes to zero tomorrow, he'll be fine. So we can kind of afford, if something bad happens to Metazoo, and we can chalk it up to, well, it was fun money. It was hobby money. we had the experience. Collecting it was fun. We had a good time doing it. It was a good ride, and now it's over. But there's a lot of people that can't say that, and that's why a lot of people have stopped making videos about Metazoo, stopped collecting, they're selling their collections, and just got out of the game entirely, because there's a lot of people that can't afford to wait around for the game to go to zero if that's what ends up happening, and then lose their ass on their collection. Some people have a significant chunk of their savings invested in Metazoo, and they can't just chalk it up to, oh, it was hobby income, it was fun money, and now we're out. And me and Argos can we can do that. So we continue to stay in it, we continue to collect, we continue to make videos, we continue to buy it, because we have that little bit of extra money where we can just, it's whatever if something bad happens. And I understand that a lot of you guys watching, and a lot of people that left Metazoo, and a lot of people that stopped making videos, can't say the same. So if a guy like Argos leaves, where it's kind of a whatever thing if Metazoo goes to zero, then that's when we should really start to get worried. And I think, even though, like I said, even though he said in that video that he's not exiting Metazoo, not to worry, he's just making room, he's just, trying to get some money back and put it back into collecting or whatever, I still think that when someone like him is selling cards like that, it is a sign to start worrying. And like I said, I love Argos. I think he's the best. He's the #1 Metazoo YouTuber in my opinion, hands down, no holds barred. But I do think there's a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a little bit of a nugget. I don't even know what word I'm trying to use. What he said I think was mostly true, but I think there's just a little seed of doubt that he has, and that's part of the reason why he's selling some of the stuff he's selling. I'll put it that way. And I just think that he probably got really burned on the Karami situation. I'm sure a lot of his customers were pissed off that they paid full price, even though he was selling beneath MSRP for the Karami boxes. They paid full price, and like a week later, the price was cut in half, and you could buy it for half that price on eBay. And I'm sure he's not too happy with Metazoo about that, and not too happy about other things. The delays with Legacy that I'm sure he ordered a ton of, and the delays of SCP, which I'm sure he ordered a ton of, and I'm sure he can't be too happy with them right now. And it's a sad situation. I really hope that Metazoo listens to what he said, some of the stuff that I've said, a lot of the stuff that you guys are saying, and I really hope they can turn that ship around. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Argos's recent videos, him selling a portion of his collection, and just Argos overall. But no Argos slander in that comment section. I don't like seeing it. I consider him, well, I guess I don't really consider him a friend because I've never met him personally, but I consider him a peer. I guess we're friends, right, Argos? I'm sure you're watching this. But I think he's a great guy. No Argos slander. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Nick Strength and Pokemon, signing out.